Very excited. Get your spreadsheets ready. It's time to go to the Stanley Fencing and Gates hotline. Say hello to our friend Dave Bartoo, CFB Matrix. Dave, always great to have you on the show. Thank you very much. It's Tennessee at LSU week. What should we think about this week? This game, a noon kickoff, 11 local time, Saturday morning between the Vols and Tigers.
What should we think about? How is anybody even working right now in Knoxville?
I don't believe anybody is.
No, they shouldn't be. This is like Thursday, Friday, March Madness. Nothing is getting done, right? Because you know the opportunity, you can feel it, right? You don't want to talk about it. 5-0. It's like a pitcher with a no-hitter through 5 innings. Don't talk to him. Shh, don't talk to him. But we know what's going on, right? This is a big deal. I was seeing somewhere, is this the first time you guys played him in like over a decade down there?
It's been a while.
It's 12 years.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I mean, you know, it's almost as long as since Swain played. I mean, it's decades ago.
Goodness gracious, Dave.
but the I think ultimately, and maybe I'm reading too much into the question, but what's the big question mark of this game, right? I mean, that's really what it is. Because what are we getting? We know we are getting top 5 offensive scoring efficiency in college football with Tennessee, right? Well, that's what we're going to get. And I talked about it on the show last year. That's why on my vote, like OBrien and Heisman, one of my votes was for Hooker just to get him some acknowledgement, because if you extrapolate out what he did in 9 games last year, it was top 3 in the country. So we know we're going to get that offense. Defensively, year to date, about the same thing, right? We got House and Banks, and you look at their defensive scoring efficiency, and it's almost exactly the same year to date. So the big question mark for LSU for this whole game is what's going to show up on LSU's offense. That's it. To me, that's the whole ball game, because if you get what LSU has put out on the field year to date, dude, the only thing you're going to be thinking about at halftime is how many drinks you can get in your gut, because the game will be, So yeah, LSU is at home. Yeah, LSU has top 5 talent, second most NFL starts in the last 10 years, but that offense is 71st in scoring efficiency in the country. So to me, that's the big question mark of the game. Can the LSU offense show up and keep this game competitive?
Dave, I know earlier in the year during the summer, we looked at this matchup, and, you said that if this game was at home for Tennessee, it's Tennessee easily. Maybe a little bit of a toss-up, maybe an edge towards LSU, that Tennessee's playing on the road in Baton Rouge. Now that we have been 4 or 5 weeks in college football, do you look at it differently now that you have seen both teams play?
Yeah, well, I do. Because of scoring efficiency. Look, these are 2 top 15 talented teams, all right? So I automatically – I'm going to go with the preseason – I'm going to go with the most talented team at home. But you have lack of coaching continuity in LSU, totally new staff, all right? The question mark coming in for me for LSU is Denbrock, the offensive coordinator, was he really that good? Because without Desmond Ridder at Cincinnati, he ain't been good at all. And guess what? He still ain't good. We're 71st in the country right now. So when I'm looking in season is I'm still looking at talent, because talent still wins football games, especially in the SEC. But the most important thing to look at is scoring efficiency, offense and defense. And when you look at those numbers, Tennessee right now has beaten LSU by nearly 0.2 of a point per snap this season when you account for all of their scoring efficiency. So if this is a 60-play game, that's 12 points. All right? So from that standpoint, I lean Tennessee winning this football game simply because of the scoring efficiency. And I don't think the talent gap is that much, and I don't think the coaching gap is that much. And ultimately, you also have the best player on the field. You also have the best coordinator. Josh Heupel calling plays. He's the best coordinator on the field. So when you look at everything other than home field advantage, I see Tennessee as the winner of the football game.
Dave Bartoo, CFB Matrix. Tennessee's 4-0, would be 5-0 with a win. How does this game affect, Dave, how this season could play out for Tennessee. The preseason win total was 7.5, I believe. So you could already be at 5 this weekend. How do you see things with in terms of what this game could mean for Tennessee's season?
Well, right now at this point, it's just one game at a time, right? I'll do the coach speak, dude. We're just worried about Saturday. We're just worried about Saturday, right? And literally, yeah, I think you have to take that approach right now. But you look big picture is it does so many things, especially on the recruiting side, booster money, fan excitement. I mean, wins just kind of, they build up, and it's exciting. But, you know, you can't get too far ahead of your skis because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you still have 2 huge games. You got Georgia and Alabama, and the physicality of that, win or lose, is really going to be tough for the entire season. So I think from a scheduling standpoint, that's the tough part of it. But I think right now, I think the mentality, at least with the head coaches, when I work with head coaches and I'm in the locker rooms and in the coaching staff, it's trying not to get too excited about things and just take it one game at a time.
The line is narrow there, Dave. I mean, 2.5, 3 points. Are you a little shocked at the line when you look at both teams and the scoring efficiency for Tennessee, and you have the coordinator advantage in Tennessee's favor, and Tennessee has the best player? What do you think about that line?
Well, I think about that line. It's I would say, based on everything I just said, don't bet it. Right? Just don't mess with it because, you know, in the back of my mind, you still have a home field advantage with better talent in LSU. That can beat anybody any day. All right. So that scares me there. Now, if I'm simply looking at Team A versus Team B, and you said, Dave, you got to take a side. You know, here's $20, you got to bet it. I'm still taking the balls to win and cover that because of what they've done year to date. It's a better team year to date. And the home field, here's a little nugget in case the coaching staff at Tennessee is listening. All right, here's a little nugget for Tiger Stadium. Okay, everybody talks about how it influences the game. Look, yeah, it'll hype up the LSU players, but in terms of the Tennessee players, just focus. It's all about players and coaches. Tiger Stadium in the last 2 years in the Power 5 has the second fewest false starts against its opponent in college football. Second fewest. So don't, if you're a fan, don't buy into the hype. If you're a player, just play your game. That crowd doesn't affect you. It may affect them, but that crowd has not affected offensive line play at all, at least in the last 2 years.
Wow. Dave Bartoo, CFB Matrix, you can tell he's breaking down the numbers. How do you see the top of the SEC? Alabama and Georgia, I'm sure you would view as the class of the SEC in terms of number 1 and number 2, whichever order you'd go. What does it look like after that? How far down would you go maybe to get to Tennessee in terms of the pecking order of the SEC right now?
Well, not very far at all. To me, Alabama's number 1. You have number 4. Alabama's number 4 in defensive scoring efficiency, number 4 in offensive scoring efficiency. So to me, so far year to date, and that should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody. But you know, the next layer is Tennessee, Georgia. And I just don't see them that far apart. I really don't. Do you get Georgia at home?
Georgia's on the road. Bama's at home for Tennessee next week. So Bama at home at Georgia early November.
Look, I think you look at the numbers. Tennessee and Georgia just aren't very far apart at all. I don't buy that the gap between those two teams is really that far today. And then, you know, I'd say the next level, that's your top 3 that's your top tier right there is Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama as of today, right? Then your next level is now you're getting into the Ole Miss. You know, you look at year-to-date scoring efficiency. Alabama's number 1 in the SEC, number 4 in the country. Tennessee is number 5 in total team scoring efficiency, number 2 in the SEC. Georgia's a couple ticks down, but they're still in the top 10. Mississippi State, Ole Miss, they're really solid, and then it takes a really big fall off to everybody else. So, to me, the top three are Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. That's your first tier, and then it falls down into the second tier of the SEC. The Georgia-Tennessee game, I mean, it's too bad you guys are playing Alabama. That's kind of a bad hand to be dealt in terms of your crossover games. But if it was just straight up SEC East, I'll take Tennessee to beat Georgia at home right now. It's on the road, so I'm going to take Georgia, but that might be the game of the year.
Wow. Dave Bartoo here on Josh and Swain. Dave, outside the SEC, a couple jobs are open. There will be more jobs open. When you look at your head coaching efficiency and you're ranking your head coaches, who are some of the top coaches out there in the country that you think will have opportunity to get some of these vacant jobs?
Not freaking Bill O'Brien.
No.
So why don't we start with that? Dude, that guy shouldn't even be on anybody's top 25. I don't get it. I see it all the time. And number one, outside of Lane Kiffin, how well do Alabama offensive coordinators do? Not very good, right? And O'Brien's never done anything. So please, everybody, stop talking about Bill O'Brien. Drives me absolutely nuts on that. Now you start looking at. Now the thing is, here's the issue: is you're not going to have a lot of jobs open. I know it feels like it, but like in the SEC, are there going to be any big jobs? I mean, really big jobs. You got Auburn, but LSU ain't going nowhere. A&M ain't going nowhere. Dude, you want to talk about the most miserable fan base in college football? It's got to be Aggies. I don't mean to digress, but let's make fun of them. Your team is 6-6 in the last 12 games, and you're a top 5 recruiter. Oh my gosh, you want to talk about a failure of talent? Kirby would have been fired. Nick fired. Ryan Day fired. All these guys. Actually, the last guy that went 6-6 that had top 10 talent, name's Ed Orgeron. He got fired. Guess what? You're stuck with Jimbo. Oh my gosh, I would hate to be a Texas A&M Aggie fan. What a waste. That's what Longhorn fans felt like for all those years under Mac Brown. Okay, we're not going to make fun anymore. Yes, we will.
But it was funny, though.
So Fisher's not going to get replaced. Leach isn't going anywhere. Kiffin might go to Auburn. That would be the most logical thing. And now you have Ole Miss open, but that's still a second-tier job. Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, those aren't going anywhere. So realistically, I just don't – all the big jobs out there, Auburn and Nebraska might be the biggest jobs. Wisconsin, I wouldn't put Wisconsin's brand in terms of – national brand in terms of what Auburn and Nebraska are. So, I don't think really there's going to be a lot of churn there. But your guys that you're talking about that are out there, obviously the hot one right now is Leipold, right? 58 at Kansas. He built up Buffalo, built up a program in Kansas to win football games. But I'm not sure how he fits. I could see him at Nebraska or Wisconsin. Certainly not at Auburn or Georgia Tech. The one guy that I think is really interesting right now, I'm just going to throw that out there just because I like to throw curveballs, is Cade Womack at South Alabama. He lost to UCLA on the road by 1. If he didn't lose that football game, if they win that football game, his coach effect is the same as Leipold's at Kansas. That's how good he's done. So he's done a really, really good job. So he's at South Alabama right now. So if there's like a name nobody's talking about that I love on paper, right? Hey, Georgia Tech, interview this guy a lot. It's Cade Womack at South Alabama.
Good stuff. Two things we learned. Jimbo Fisher not getting Coach of the Year votes from Dave Bartoo, and you like Tennessee at LSU this weekend, Dave. Good stuff. Good information today. That's why we called you up.
Hey, anytime. I love you guys. I'm always here for you. I love talking college football, so don't be a stranger.
We won't.
My man.
At CFB Matrix, go check him out. We appreciate it, Dave, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Dave Bartoo on the stand.